Hi, my name's John Schultz. I'm a Norvise ambassador. I'm a Stillwater Junkie. So I'm going to tie up a bunny pattern. I've tied some others up on other videos, but I've really liked tying rabbit flies for stillwater fishing. And in the past, I've been pretty much using the UV polar chenilles to tie these patterns with, but I didn't have enough options for materials to do it. So I've come up with a new trick to doing this that has really worked quite well for me, and the options available to you for multiple colors are amazing. So to start with, I'm going to separate, this is some chinchilla rabbit fur, and I'm going to separate the fur to where the length of the leather is just about the length of the hook shank here. That's actually a hair too long. I'm going to shorten it up just a touch more. And then I'm going to put a little moisture on that to keep them separated. The next thing I like to do, because these flies have a real tendency to come untwisted in the water, I'm going to put just a little dab of super glue right at the back of the hook where I'm going to tie in my tail with. This is just crazy glue, super glue. I like the brush applicator on it. It makes it easy to use. So then I'm going to take that fur, and with my thumbnail holding tight to the hook shank, I'm going to wrap some 140 denier ultra thread onto it. I'm going to do about 6 wraps, because I really hate it when these things come untwisted in the water after the rabbit gets wet. Then I'm going to make a wrap two in front of that and throw a half hitch in. That'll just help to anchor that fur where I'm going. So the next thing I'm going to do is make a fairly small dubbing loop, tie it in, and then advance my thread to behind the eye of the hook. From here, I'm going to take my dubbing, and this is actually, it's called Peas and Carrots. It's made by a company called Hogfish out of Idaho, and it's multicolored with green and copper and gold and blue. It's really a nice combination of colors. So I'm going to stretch this stuff out in as long of fibers as I can get at it and tuck it into my dubbing loop. It doesn't take an awful lot of this to do it. I've got it all pushed in up there. Then I'm going to put my dubbing spinning tool in the bottom of the loop and get all of those up and give it a good twist. I actually like to rotate my vise so the hook doesn't catch all that dubbing as I'm twisting it. And after I've got it there, I like to just pull out some of those fibers so that they are as long as they possibly can be, and angle them towards the hook shank, or the bend of the hook on the fiber. Next thing, and probably the most critical thing to making this pattern work out well, is to rotate the fur over the top of the fly one time, and then pick it up on the underside with my dubbing loop on the hook side of the shank there, if you can see that. Then I'm going to hold the dubbing loop and my leather in my fingers between my thumb and middle finger, and I'm going to use my pinky finger, my pointer finger, to push that fur back as I'm going. So everything, the dubbing and the fur, lays down beside it. And when I'm nearly up to the head, I'm going to force all that down. I'm going to do one more rotation of my vise. Now I've got it, and I'm going to take my dubbing loop and cross over my fur now and do 2 reps with my dubbing loop there. That locks the fur all in tight, and now I'm going to come back and tie that dubbing loop in really securely. and I'll trim off the remainder of the dubbing loop. Now that I've got that, I'm going to hold that all back, and again I am going to really wrap that dubbing loop in tight there again to ensure that this doesn't twist loose, and I'm going to throw a half hitch into that. Then I'm going to take my rabbit fur and go once more just up over the top and let it drop, and I'm going to separate my fur on top of the fly. Then I'm going to cross over the leather on that and tie that in really well. Again, I'm going to do 6 wraps across the top of that leather to get it anchored in really well. Then carefully, without cutting your thread, I'm going to trim off the balance of that fur and get out as much of the leather as I can. Then I'm going to take my thread and do the best I can to build a thread head on this pattern. Now that I'm at that point, I am going to whip finish the fly, and I hate to have these come undone, so I'll do 6 whip finishes, then goes back and do 6 more over the top of that. And then I'll just hit that with a little bit of head cement. Before I do cement it, I'm going to brush it out with my handy 22 caliber dubbing brush. It's pretty good tool. And there you have a chinchilla with peas and carrots. It's been a really successful pattern for me. Thanks for watching.